The world as it really is not the world as we see it. Everything we see is more or less a perception of what is actually there, and while we'd be inclined to say that our perception matches reality without any faults, that isn't completely correct. Take a look at my handwriting. Clearly, this is the English language. You can see the D's and the A's and the F's and the G's, but what if I wrote more like this? This script, which you may not recognize, is the Palmer method of business handwriting, and if you don't know it, then this isn't handwriting at all. To the person who can't see that the Palmer script is written in English, the script isn't a script, but just a bunch of messy lines. I mean, look at the letter F. These two look absolutely nothing alike, nor do the letters for Z and Q and S and G. I mean, how can both of these characters both represent an uppercase F? The answer is, well, because we say they do. And the moment we stop, they cease to. If you can't read the Palmer script, it's not an F, it's more like a backwards 6. But even if you know modern cursive, there's a good chance you still can't read any handwriting from as little as 300 years ago. People that can read cursive know that this definitely says bin, that says the, and that's patient. But what the hell is this? In order to read that, you have to know that that character is not an F, but a long S, which is used throughout the document. And if you don't know that, the following and such is now the necessity becomes and futch is now the necessity. And if you think that's bad, another 200 years ago when you can't read anything. But even though this is Shakespeare's handwriting, to us most of these characters might as well be just squiggles. We can't make out what letters are here because what's on the page isn't a letter, nor in the Declaration of Independence, nor in my handwriting. What's on the page here isn't a word or a combination of letters either. A word doesn't truly exist on that paper, but in the mind. And because of that, even if you can read cursive, you're still not reading a word, you're just looking at a character that represents a tone, and when you string those tones together, you then get a tonal representation of a concept, which itself only represents a thing that we can perceive. I mean, say I have 7 bananas. What exactly is 7? It's definitely a number, but what's a number? Surely there's 7 bananas here, but there's one bunch of bananas. Does that mean that 7 equals 1? I would contend that 7 and 1 aren't even real. The tone of 2 short E's with a dental fricative S, a V and a N sound is just the tone we've given to the abstract quality of there being this many of a particular thing. And so what does it mean to say that 3 plus 4 equals 7? I'd say it's getting at the abstract quality of how much of something there actually is. But when you see this equation, you don't think of any of that. It's just, you see this character, you know it's a 3. You see this, you know it means add. If you see this, you know it means 4. That's equals and that's 7. But if I wanted this to be 3 and I call it chair, I wanted this to be plus and called it opus, wanted this to be 4 and called it anime, wanted this to be equals and called it Donald, and wanted this to be 7 and called it Trump, then chair, opus, anime, Donald's Trump. And that sounds ridiculous, but if I started a commune in Antarctica, and the people in the commune used that system, chair opus anime would definitely Donald Trump. Believe it or not, I mean, this is something we do all the time in math. Pi is the ratio of a circumference of a circle to its diameter, but as far as we're concerned, it's 3.14, or this little Greek symbol. You just plug it into the formula, boom, you're still failing math. Music, too, works exactly the same way. When you play a chord on the piano, you like to think that you're being artistically expressive and laying your emotions out before you, but all you're playing is a frequency ratio, which is why progressions and harmonies work so well for us. They're built on real principles. When you play a major interval, you're playing 2 frequencies that happen to coincide nicely, whereas when you play a minor interval, you're playing 2 frequencies that don't coincide quite as much because they're closer together. There's nothing that makes an A minor chord sad or a C major chord happy. It's just the latter is not as dissonant as the former. So we think that it sounds kind of sad when we hear the minor chord. And when you play that on an electric piano like I have, you don't even get a natural frequency anymore, but an electronically synthesized tone that sounds like a piano string being struck. And this isn't even my voice either, but a synthesized transposition of frequency of my vocal cords into data that's then played back for you. This isn't even my hand, it's just an interpretation of light information recorded by a sensor in my camera into its own data and played back for you in this video. And this isn't a hand either. It's not even a drawing of a hand, but a video of a drawing of what looks like a hand. But because of pareidolia, this looks like a hand to you. And it should, because it's a piece-by-piece recreation of the original light. But if you zoom in, it's definitely not a hand, just as this is just a bunch of lines. Our minds put those little constituent pieces together, making them as if the real thing. But it's odd because our minds sometimes do the opposite, putting constituent pieces together to make a whole brand new thing. When I see a thing enough times, the little parts that make it up don't really have any meaning. If you look at New York, you're thinking, oh, the city in Manhattan in the northeastern United States, not the new version of the city of York in Britain. The sense of new in New York at one point was to say that it's a New York, but now it's its own thing, it's its own meaning, New York, as if it were one word. The exact same thing allowed us to use the ampersand. Now it kind of looks like a reverse cursive S, but only a few hundred years ago, and it was the Latin word et, which means and. We don't see et in the ampersand. I mean, if you look at certain variations of it, you will, but most oftentimes we don't. It's its own thing, it's its own representation of the word, and we have made it so. To take this just another step further, look at human burials. They're now wonderfully beautiful ceremonies that are carried out as a means of respect for the dead, but what are we doing? We're burying a $1,000 box, putting a dead man in a suit, and surrounding the corpse with vegetation. We put the box in the ground with a stone that has the man's name on it, and visit the stone to pay respects. I mean, some people will even talk to it and put candies and flowers next to it. I don't know about you, but none of that really says respect to me. And what's more, we're respecting a guy that's not even alive anymore. He can't discern our respect, so why are we even doing this? As we say this character means and, we say these things yield respect. And so to us, the living, not the dead, they do. Burial arose from a very utilitarian need that ancient man had to get rid of decaying corpses. But now that meaning is lost, and that process has become its own thing. Materially, nothing changed. We're putting people in a box and putting the box in the ground. But because we've said it's different, it is. Driving a car, going to work, having a marriage, having children, being patriotic or philanthropic. All of these are things that we perceive, things that we've said should be, and so that they must be. But all marriage is just putting a piece of bent metal around someone's finger to signify that you've put some scribbles on a piece of paper that represent the abstract nature of yourself as embodied in your name, and so your personhood is committed to that document. It's the mistake of the nihilist to say that because we can break everything down like that, make it all sound so meaningless, that our world is a lie. Sure, what we know isn't the real world, but it's definitely not completely false. That the cross is little more than a tool of torture, and those who follow it are misguided for doing so, is a fallacy. Every symbol we take part in has its basis in what we ourselves can truly know. And while from some perspective, all the symbolism may seem silly, the fullness of all things is only as we have perceived it, because we ourselves have decided so. These letters are our letters. These numbers are our numbers. This music is our music. This picture is our picture. These symbols are our symbols. And this world is our world. And we have made it. This is Mr. Amazing. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I could not do anything I do on here without the support of the patrons that are supporting me at the present moment. And if you would like to see updates on videos as I'm working on them, small previews, bits and pieces of my scripts, upcoming videos, etc., please follow me on my Twitter. I post updates there all the time. I'm on almost every day. And if you'd like to talk to me personally about anything, please shoot me an email or contact me through my Discord. The Discord at the moment is kind of empty, so come as you please, and I'm sure there'll be room.